Milestone, Fundamental Forces, is a competitive card battler for 2 players. Your overall goal is to achieve milestones, objective cards set in the center of play, but your abilities and win conditions shift each match depending on the cards you collect. You'll have to think critically and adapt to the game to come out on top. You start each match with the Prime Milestone, a unique card that grants you a special ability to build your deck around. As you battle, you'll collect minor milestones, simple objectives that reveal new, more challenging objectives once achieved. And for every 2 you collect, you'll gain 1 major milestone, a powerful card that grants an additional ability and is tied to win conditions. The first player to collect 7 minor milestones, or complete 2 major win conditions, will be the victor.
For newcomers to the game, it makes the most sense to start by learning about the cards and how they work.
Each battle card represents a force or energy found in our universe. They all manipulate the field in their own way, and understanding their strengths and weaknesses is the key to success in Milestone. We begin with Gravity, an offense-focused card that drains power from the opponent's field. With its massive range, Gravity pulls opponent cards into orbit, and as a reuse-type card, can act multiple times per turn. Cards trapped in orbit cannot use their abilities. They exist only to grow the Gravity stack, which is worth a milestone at 6 cards. But Gravity does have limits. It cannot pull stacks larger than itself, nor solo magnets, nor stacks containing magnets. Electromagnetism is just too strong for Gravity to overcome. Magnets are a tricky inert-type card focused on area denial. They can only act once per turn, represented by turning the card sideways, but remain on the field after use. Opposites attract and arrive active on your field, while equals repel and arrive inert on the opponents. This is particularly good for grabbing inert-type milestones, which focus on the physical location of cards. And with a well-placed magnet, you can also effectively block the opponent from adding other cards to their field. But be careful. Inert magnets left in the opponent's field become active at the end of their turn and fall under their control. So what do you do if your field is cluttered with cards you don't want? One option is the Void, a defensive card focused on field management. Void represents the strong nuclear force and can pull any card into its vortex, even magnets. Like Gravity, it is reuse type, but unlike Gravity, it has limited range. Voids cannot pull from the opponent, and still can't pull stacks larger than themselves. So what combats a growing stack? Atoms, representing the weak nuclear force, are a versatile offensive and defensive option. They are discard type, meaning you have to remove them from your field after use. But they have the unique ability to discard any other card in the fray. You could use them to destroy your own cards and open up space, to destroy opponent cards and limit threats, or even to knock cards out of a growing stack. The only thing they can't do is destroy an entire stack at once. But maybe there's a major milestone for that. Lastly, there are 2 essential energies in game: Thermal and Temporal. Thermal cards are context-sensitive inert types that can be used against the opponent. If you target a solo card, it is burnt, meaning discarded, and if you target a stack, it is frozen, meaning turned inert for the opponent's next turn. Temporals alter the very flow of a match. They are discard type, and when used against the opponent, take an action away from their turn, but when used on yourself, add an action back. Which brings us to our next section. With the basic cards covered, let's go over turn flow. Each turn in Milestone consists of 2 action points, or AP, and 5 phases. Action points determine how much you can do, while phases determine when you can do it. They flow as follows: Quick Fill, Play, Free Fill, Draw, and Upkeep, in that order. Phases can be skipped, but you cannot return to an earlier one once it is passed, and you must use at least one of the first 4 each turn, unless no viable moves exist. In Quick Fill, you spend 1 action point to add as many cards as you like from your hand to the field, provided there is space. In Play, you spend 1 action point per card used. After you've played, you'll have the opportunity to fill any empty field spaces for free, although you don't have to. And then, if you have less than 3 cards in your hand at the end of Free Fill, you draw back to 3. Finally, any cards left in the inert state at the end of your turn are returned to their active state during Upkeep. So let's see this all in action in real time. You can follow along at the top of the screen as we run through the first 2 turns of a sample match. We'll cover all the basic mechanics you just learned, but leave the deeper nuances of Major Milestone collection and power synergy for you to discover. Each match of milestones starts the same, with prime milestone selected and decks built. Players shuffle their cards, draw the top 3 from each deck, and lay them face up on the field to establish the fray. High roll determines who goes first, and the player going second gets the draw an initial hand to balance out first move advantage. Player 1's turn starts with a quick fill, but since they don't have a hand yet, their quick fill is skipped. This means they move into play phase with 2 remaining action points. Here, player 1 spends their first action point to activate gravity and pull in the opponent's temporal. They aim to weaken the opponent's temporal-based deck. As we know, gravity pulls opponent cards into orbit and is reusable, but it can't pull magnets. So for their second and final AP this turn, player 1 attracts the opponent's magnet to their field. They're setting up for next turn. If they can repel the magnet they just attracted, they'll have used an inert type adjacent to its copy and nab that milestone. With no AP left and no free actions, player 1 ends play and moves on to free fill. They still don't have a hand though, so free fill is skipped just like quick fill was. Almost at the end of their turn, player 1 now draws to replenish their hand. Finally, player 1 completes upkeep and returns their inert magnet to its active state. And with upkeep over, it is now player 2's turn. Player 2 currently has a solo void on their field. Since voids only pull from their own side of the field, right now the void is incapable of acting. Player 2 does start with a hand though, so they can quick fill. Of note, there are only 4 spaces on a field, so if any other cards were there, they would not have been able to add their whole hand. Now player 2 is in a tight spot. They have only 1 action point left because they used quick fill, but luckily, they had a temporal on hand. Temporals can be used to take action points away from the opponent's next turn, or add them back to your own. In this case, player 2 uses the temporal themselves to get back to 2 AP. Now there are a couple of options available to player 2. They could use their void to pull in cards and race player 1 to the stack milestone, or maybe target discard milestone with their atom and thermal. So what will player 2 do? What would you do? And what about that prime milestone? If player 2 can spend more than 3 AP this turn, they'll start next turn with an additional action point, thanks to terminal velocity. There are many more powers to discover, and so many synergies to build. Every turn in Milestone is like a mini puzzle, and it takes a true galaxy brain to solve it. So what are you still doing on this video? Follow the links in the description below to get a copy for your next game night, or try out the online version. And for everything else Milestone, check out gamesbyguy.com. Be well and have fun.